know what you are planning for, right? Like this is a huge, huge deal. If it's Stephen Covey in his book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People says you need to start with the end in mind, begin with the end in mind, and reverse engineer a plan to be able to accomplish your plan. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, and it's not going to be pretty. If you don't live your life by design, you're going to live it by somebody else's. I could go on all day with these one-liners in this regard. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180. In this video, we're going to be talking about the 7 things that you need to do to achieve your financial goals faster. This is what you need to do in your 30s to get started. But quite frankly, if you're 40, if you're 50, whatever, it's all about moving the needle fast. Now, if I'm 42, so I just got out of my 30s. And what I can say is this is stuff that I wish somebody had told me when I was 30, when I was probably 28, 29, or even younger, quite frankly. If you're 19 and watching this, it's going to be completely applicable to you. Maybe aside from the one little bonus that I talk about, having family and kids and stuff like that, that's typically stuff that people are managing and balancing as they go through life in their 30s. But the rest of it's going to be completely applicable to you. So let's get into this, and let's just start with the first thing that you need to do is you need to invest in yourself. You need to develop skills. You need to develop just different knowledge bases for yourself, and start to get to know and understand different ways to make more streams of income. Start learning new skills and learning to earn money on a side hustle. Start to research how to invest in real estate. Start to research how different types of investments work, right? Because I'm a big believer that you never should, I should say, invest in something that you don't understand, right? And so what this comes down to is that no matter what, I could put everything else after this. I could tell you all these things that you need to do, but if you don't invest in yourself first, and you don't increase your level of knowledge in real estate investing or stock investing, if you don't increase your skill sets and give yourself the potential to earn more income at your job, maybe you're a computer programmer, you got to go get another certificate or skill, or learn how to do a different type of program to keep up with the cutting edge stuff to get a raise at your job. All of these things are so important. I'm going to get into things like debt and saving and investing and all these things, but your ability to produce is the number one component to your success. And your ability to produce at a high level is going to be based on your knowledge and your skills. And so go out, invest in yourself. One thing I know is a lot of people come to me and they say, Chris, I have all these debt issues, or I have this huge knowledge gap. Yeah, you do. So go shrink that knowledge gap. And if you have a lot of debt, you're probably not, what got you where you are right now is not going to get you where you want to go, right? So you're probably not going to solve your problem that your current thinking got you into. It's going to take new thinking, new skills, maybe new people that you're hanging out with, and spending time a little bit differently. And so I would say your first thing is invest in yourself, your knowledge, your skills, and ultimately give yourself a chance to win on a bigger level, because your greatest need is not a better return on your investments. Your greatest need is more cash flow, right? Especially when you're young. That should be your biggest focus. Too many people think about going out and getting great returns in the market and taking all this risk, but that's a really short-sighted way of thinking. And unfortunately, I'm going to get into this on why later, but your biggest need is more cash flow and creating more active income when you're younger, so you can then take that and turn it into passive income. Now, once you do that, I would say the second thing you need to do is you need to eliminate your consumer debt. The bottom line is, I'm not a big believer that all debt is bad. The Dave Ramseys of the world, Susie Ormans of the world that believe that debt is evil. I don't know a wealthy person alive that hasn't leveraged debt to their advantage to be able to create that wealth. Now, understanding that you can utilize debt and leverage debt to help accumulate assets and create leverage, as long as you don't overdo it, that's one thing. But having consumer debt like credit card debt and financing lifestyle and vacations and paying high interest on cars and doing stuff of that nature, going and getting a boat and financing it improperly, those major capital transfers in your life are creating massive wealth transfers from you that you're never going to get back. And so what you need to do Once you build your knowledge and your skills, you need to go out and make sure that the foundation of your finances is solid, and it's never going to be solid if you have a lot of consumer debt that's going on. You're always going to have leaks in your life. So I always think about it like this. If you had a bucket and you were filling that bucket up with water, and that bucket had a lot of holes in it, and imagine water is money in this equation. So this bucket, you're pouring money into your life. The bucket is your life and your world of finances, and you're just pouring money, water into this bucket, and there's all these leaks going out of it. How much sense does it make to just turn the spigot on and pump more water into that? It doesn't make any sense at all, because it's just going to keep leaking out. The pressure is going to build up. It's going to leak out more and more and more, right? So what do you need to do? We need to make sure we plug the leaks before we put the water on harder. Now, we always want to keep the water on as fast as we can to fill that bucket up as fast as we can. But if we have the leaks plugged, even if we slow down the flow of money, of water into this bucket, it's going to fill up faster than somebody's popping a bunch of water into a leaky bucket, right? That is the challenge with debt. We need to make sure that we eliminate this toxic consumer debt before you even go out and think about investing. People get it backwards. So make sure that you are handling that. It doesn't make any sense to go have a credit card that you're paying 20% on just to try to get take this money and invest it in something with a lot of speculation that might get you 10 to 15%, right? On a good side. It makes no sense at all, but that's what 95% of Americans are doing. Don't do that. All right, so the third thing that you need to do is you need to develop a cash flow investing strategy. You have to know what you are planning for, right? This is a huge, huge deal. It's Stephen Covey in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says you need to start with the end in mind, begin with the end in mind, and reverse engineer a plan to be able to accomplish your plan. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, and it's not going to be pretty. If you don't live your life by design, you're going to live it by somebody else's. I could go on all day with these one-liners in this regard. Now, here's the thing. You don't buy into the mindset of the investing in the stock market and buying and holding. I'm not saying, I guess from everybody's perspective, I guess I'm just not a believer in the stock market personally. Now, I understand it works for some people, but my belief there comes from the fact that I don't believe anybody should invest in something they don't understand. And unless you're going to go out, if you do want to invest in mutual funds or stocks or anything, any kind of investment vehicle, my belief is that you should always be in control of your results. And if you don't understand what you're investing in, you can't control those results. And so this is what it comes back down to. The first one is invest in yourself and your knowledge and your skills, right? The knowledge component is where you're putting your money. Now, from this perspective, when we think about how are we going to invest, no matter what it is, your investment, thinking about investing for cash flow. I love real estate because it cash flows, it creates cash flows, it gets you a lot of benefits with it. But you can invest in dividend producing stocks. Those are cash flow producing as well. It's a little bit of a different animal, maybe not so many of the benefits, but for the person that understands that, like Warren Buffett, obviously amazing at it, right? He loves this. He buys companies, and these companies kick out dividends, and he compounds those, and he leverages them in a lot of different ways. And so you can do it, but just make sure that you think about it from the perspective of investing for cash flow. The buy and hold mindset of working for 40 years, just setting it and forgetting it, turns you into a financial zombie and makes it so you are not going to become who you need to become to accomplish the things in your life that you want to accomplish. And so be intentional. That's why I created this company, Life 180, living intentionally for excellence. And the 180 is about turning the results in your finances around. And that starts with what your plan is for your money. Don't live by somebody else's plan. Figure out a cash flow plan and what that looks like for you. And I promise you, instead of waiting 40 years to retire, you can do it in 10 to 15 years. So once you have the plan in place and you know the cash flow plan that you're doing, the next thing you do is to not go out and invest. It's actually to go out and save. And there's a big difference. And the functional difference between saving and investing is just a function of risk. With investing, you can lose money. With savings, you cannot lose money. And so we have to build the foundation of our financial life on stone. When we go out and invest before we save, that's building the proverbial house on sand. All it takes is a big tidal wave like COVID to come in at the beginning, like what we're going through right now in the economy, like a 2008, like a dot-com bubble, like a 1994, like a 1988, like a 1979. Like I could go back and back and back. Market cycles happen. They do. It's not doomsday, what we're going through right now. Even if the market goes down another 30, 40%, it's not the end of the world. But the bottom line is we know these market cycles happen. So why the heck is everybody not building these market cycles in as opportunity? Because the greatest wealth is created on the backside of these market cycles. The richest people in the world understand this is how we do it. More millionaires were made in 2009 than any other year on the history of this planet, in the history of this planet. And so when it comes from that perspective, why are everyday Americans not preparing and planning on integrating a strategy that takes advantage of these market cycles rather than suffering from them? And you cannot do that if you are investing before you save. And so that is the foundation of everything. We have to be a nation of savers. And when we save, that allows production to go up. And I probably could do a video just on that altogether, but that is what I'm going to say about this for now, is make sure you save before you invest, but save with the intent of investing. And so then that obviously naturally, I guess, leads me into number 5, which is taking the active income that you were utilizing to save and then turn it into passive income. When you invest in cash flow assets. It's kind of, I'm creating a little bit of a cycle here now. You can see how these kind of all interweave together. But when you do it, make sure that you take your savings, your active income, and as you do that, you can start to work yourself out of a job. You can start to invest in things that over the next 5, 10, 15 years, it will get you to a place where you can be completely financially free. I call it your freedom number. This is what I'm really passionate about helping people do. This is why I wrote my book, Cash Flow Hacking, is because it's important to understand how to invest for cash flow and create passive income. But I think the biggest mistake that people make is they jump into trying to create too much passive income too quickly. And in order to do that, you got to use too much leverage, too much risk. And when that tidal wave comes in the economy, you get wiped out, you get deleveraged, you have to start all the way over. And the people that had this foundation of savings built up in those times are able to capitalize, and they catapult to the moon. They go up like a rocket, right? And that's what it's all about. Now, the 6th thing, and I guess I could have put this first to kind of set the stage, but it is to start your infinite banking policy. Now, if you know that you need to be saving before we invest, and we understand that the money that flows through our life, it's not about taking massive risks to get big returns. It's about investing in things we understand. It's about protecting ourselves, creating a life, creating a strategy. If you're in your 30s, there's a good chance you're married. There's a good chance you either have kids or are looking to have kids at this point in time. And creating generational wealth has to be and should be, I guess I can't say it has to be for anybody, but I'm a big believer that it's our biblical duty to leave this world better than what we inherited, right? And the only way to do that is to be thinking a generation or two in advance. And so I would implore you to think and consider the fact that if your financial strategy isn't considering not just you and your generation while you're alive and your kids while you're alive, but your kids and your kids' kids and your great grandkids, right? Like all the way down the line, you can change everything right now and set up an intergenerational wealth strategy. And it is called infinite banking. It's going to guarantee that your life gets better and better and better on a guaranteed basis for the rest of your life. That's first and foremost. It's the only financial plan in the world that I know of that will make sure what you want to happen will happen when you want it to happen, whether you're here to see it or not. Because as you're saving, what happens to your wife and your kids, or your husband and your kids, if something happens to you, right? While you're saving up all this money, where you're trying to invest in and accomplish these goals, if you don't have the right plan in place, then it doesn't complete, right? Like your goals, your objectives, what the life you wanted to create never completes. So your infinite banking policy is going to be your banking alternative. It's going to be a self-completing plan, and it's going to make sure that what you want to happen will happen when you want it to happen, even if something tragic happens to you. And so start with that. And I would say, I guess I should have gone back probably to number 2. Infinite banking would have been at the beginning of this, but honestly, I would have gone on and on and on because it touches on all these other things. I probably wouldn't have had it broken down so succinctly in these other areas. That's why I didn't do it. But you need to do it. And if you don't know what infinite banking is, make sure you check out my playlist. I got a playlist that'll talk about the power of infinite banking, what it is, how it can help you. Ultimately, what it is a properly designed, high cash value life insurance policy that is going to be a banking alternative. It's going to get you returns that are about 40 times better than a bank account. It's going to give you the liquidity of your money. It's going to give you life insurance. It's going to give you living benefits to make sure if you become critically, chronically, or terminally ill, you're going to have access to that money while you're alive. And it's really just a phenomenal foundation. We talk about the foundation of our financial lives that need to be there to insulate us and protect us. It's a financial bunker. It's a financial fortress that no tidal wave can knock over in the economy. And so that's why I'm a big believer. This should be the foundation before you go and invest anything. And it will be something that you can leverage to make your investments better. And it will also be something that can create a hedge for you and give you downside protection. That's really important. I'm a big believer. What's the upside? What's the downside? Can I live with the downside? And this helps you make those decisions better. If it's what I know to be true is people that utilize properly designed whole life insurance policies as the foundation of their financial life are more intentional and more successful with their personal finances and achieving their long-term goals in a more predictable manner. So that's that. Now, the seventh thing is spend more time with your family. Be more intentional, take more vacations, take more trips. Even if you don't have the money to take it aside, the one thing I've learned is I just got through. We had my daughter when I was 31, and she's 11 years old now. I've got a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And I spent the first couple of years with my daughter when I was working at a Fortune 1000 life insurance company as the director of business development, and I was all over the map. I was never home. I was always traveling. And it got to the point where for the first 3 years of my daughter's life, she didn't even know who I was. She really didn't like me. And that really hit hard. And so now the beautiful part is my 3-year-old now, it's really just an amazing thing to be able to spend time with her and put her to bed every night and prioritize that and prioritize my wife and the family. Because those are the things that matter the most. And it all comes back to, family and creating this generational wealth. And I know for me, I had amazing parents, but I didn't grow up with wealth being taught in my household, right? Like a lot of bad stuff learned as far as debt and money habits and behaviors. And I didn't grow up with a whole lot, even though I grew up with a lot of love and that's all I could ask for. I had to go learn a lot of the things that I've learned elsewhere. Right? God bless my parents. I love them to death, and I wouldn't be the man I am without them. But we got to learn different things from different people in this life. And I would encourage every single person to spend more time prioritizing your families and realize that is what matters. You can't get that back. And so, time is the number one asset that you have. And once, these years go by, you can't get them back. So anyway, I hope you found that valuable. Those are 7 things in your 30s that I literally, going into my 30s, I wish somebody had told me those things going into it. I wish I would have started sooner. Life is good, but it can always be better, right? And I'd be way ahead because I made a lot of money when I was in my 20s playing poker professionally. I don't know if it's your first time watching my content. I talk about that every now and then, but I had a lot of bad habits with my money. I did a lot of stupid things, and I lost and burned and blew through a lot of money. And so if I had just known this, I guess in my 20s, it would have changed my life. But anyway, we all have our story. We all have our journey. Hopefully this helps you on yours. So if it does and you find value, please subscribe, hit the bell. That way you get notified every time I launch a new video. And that's it. Have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk to you on the next video. See ya.